Edge of Eternities has a bunch of awesome commanders, and we are going to be ranking them today from worst to best.
I'm Mia, and I got a new Shadow at the fair.
I'm BZ. I'm really enjoying the new Pick 2 format for Magic Draft. If you don't know what that is, go look it up. We're the Nitpicking Nerds, sponsored by Card Kingdom. That's the place you should be going to buy all of your sealed product, all of your singles, all of your precons, for Edge of Eternity, for other sets even. And if you use our link in the description, it lets them know that we sent you, and that helps us stay in business.
They have so many cards there. You should go pick them up, put them in your cart, and then check out with them and use our link.
And be happy about it.
We're also sponsored by Dragon Shield, best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
If you use the code
NERDS
at checkout, you can save 5% of your real money tax dollars on your entire order, which includes awesome art sleeves. I have some that are Starry Night themed, and they are amazing.
Oh yeah, don't sleep on the customs either. We are also sponsored by Moxfield. Not yet. Later. We also have something later to say about foil armor because they're awesome. And if you are a patron, we love you. You help keep the lights on. Genuinely, thank you to everyone. You guys are very patient and awesome, and we love you. So if you want to join that, feel free. And I want to say before we get into this, there's a lot of commanders in this set that just combo off with stuff and just have ridiculous advantage states. I'm really excited to get into it, especially in the later half of this list.
There are so many cool commanders here, and I'm so excited to be talking about them. Thank you so much to WotC for making us ambassadors. This was an awesome set, and we're super excited to get into it.
If you want to know more about the set, there's a link in the description that takes you to the card image gallery. But today, it's ranking every Edge of Eternities commander. Gone are the days of the master list. There are too many commanders these days, but we can still rank them per set, worst to best.
I'm surprised at this set because I feel like usually there are one or two that stand out as like clear number ones and twos, but there are some powerhouses in here.
Yeah, this set was very, I would say, even in terms of power level. Look, every set's got a few commanders that are built for draft or something, and we're going to get over those. And they stink, and we're going to be having fun talking about them.
The first one we're going to go over is number 23. This is Sammy, Ship's Engineer. 2 white-red for a 2/4. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 2 or more tapped creatures, create a tapped 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token.
Oh boy.
A lot of words right there, but it does just say tap a couple creatures and you make a tapped 2/2. That is one of the most lackluster abilities I've seen in recent years.
Yeah, we like giving you something to do. You know, I want to talk a little bit how to build these commanders, but it is fun that some of these are just stinky, and you're never going to see a Sammy Ship's Engineer deck in the wild. If you have vehicles, if you have spacecraft, you can crew or charge them up to always have the 2 tap creatures. But it's just your end step. It's just 1/2/2, and the 2/2 even enters tap, which is kind of insulting.
Yeah, I'm not worried about tapping the stuff because we have things like Mount and Saddle. We have things like Convoke. Yeah, we have things like Crew and stuff. So it's not hard to saddle. It's the fact that this is 4 mana for the payoff of a tap 2/2, which you can't use to station if you need because it's at the end step. You can't use it to, you know, just actually use to convoke out your spells at instant speed like Clever Concealment. This is just a little bit rough, and it's not something I want to pay 4 mana for.
Yeah, and if you were confused when we said the worst commander in the set was Sammy, there are 2 versions of 6 different legends. There's like a past version as an uncommon, and the present version, which is a mythic rare. The uncommons are worse. Next, 22, Alpha Rael, Dreaming Acolyte. 1 blue-black for a 2/3 when he enters, draw 2, then discard 2 unless you discard an artifact card, and during your turn, he has Death Touch. There might be some cute stuff to do with him having Death Touch and maybe pinging with like a Viridian Longbow or something, but that's not unique to him. That's any commander with Death Touch can do that type ability. So really, it's like, I guess you could flicker him a lot, draw 2, and ensure you only discard 1, so you like go up on cards if you have a lot of artifacts in your deck. That's something.
I mean, how many times do we need to reskin the 3 mana Dimir, Death Touch, and then some sort of like filter ability?
Was it Lock Cole in Final Fantasy?
I was like just thinking about that. I'm like, we just did that last set. We're doing it this set. How many times do we need to have a very similar lackluster ability stapled onto a legend?
Yeah, 3 mana, 2/3. Sometimes
Filter.
has Death Touch, draws and discards to some degree. We're on to you, Wizards. Number 21 is Zoo Ifit, Osteo-Harmonist. 1 black for a 2/3. This ability's cool, but I don't know if it's actually useful. It taps to return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's a skeleton, and it has no abilities. Activate only as a sorcery. I don't know how great this could be, because ultimately, it kind of says tap, make a token. That, you know, even if you go like, oh, I played a Phyrexian Dreadnought on turn 1, sacrificed it to its own ability, and then I tapped Zoo Ifit to make a 12/12. How good is that?
It's not that good. I do like the fact that it doesn't put a finality counter on it. So then if it dies, you can keep bringing stuff back. Maybe you have something that cares about power. Maybe you have like fight spells or something like that. But it's only at sorcery speed. It's only once each turn unless you can get to untap Zoo Ifit. And it just kills all abilities. So if the ceiling is make a vanilla 12/12, I think that's pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, are we really going to say that this has like combos with Thornbite Staff? Not really.
What doesn't?
Not any more than this isn't even that good. This isn't even that good of a combo. It's not like it doesn't even pay it off at all. I just think Zoifit's kind of mediocre. And we'll go to number 20, Sir Vondan the Lucent. What does that do?
Sir Vondan is 2 white, black, black for a 4/4 Death Touch lifelink. When he enters or attacks other creatures you control, get +1/+0 and gain Death Touch until end of turn. 5 mana for +1/+0 and Death Touch. You know, Balmor had it for 2 mana. But like, I think the most important part here is the fact that you could probably do some cute stuff with flickering and that sort, but it's not like it gives it any overrun with trample or gives them any super evasion. It's more of like, if there's a bunch of little 1/1s that your opponents can throw into them, then it's going to be fine. It also doesn't give him any of that either.
Yes, it is only other things, but he always has Death Touch, so you could pretend this is a 3/4 without Death Touch, and then he does give it to himself. Sir Vondan, this is the point already, which is nice to hit this point so early in the set. We're starting to cook. We're like on the precipice of cooking because you could do some pinging stuff now with other creatures in the 99. +1/+0 Death Touch is really annoying to attack through or block into. So like we're close. And like you said, if you flicker him,
maybe
we're close. You know, you get +2/+0 for a turn. That's a basically overrun, right?
In the kindest of terms, it's basically like overrun. But 5 mana is a lot to invest for that. And I think that we can just do a little bit better. We do have 19 more commanders above this.
Yeah, it's approaching value, but it's still not a card you're ever going to see anyone play. Number 19 is Dawnsire Sunstar Dreadnought. Now, this is a commander because with the release of this set, legendary spacecraft can be your commander along with legendary vehicles. This is 5 mana for a spacecraft. It's an artifact, so your deck has to be colorless if you have this as the commander. It has Station. As a final reminder on Station, you tap another creature you control, put charge counters equal to its power on the spacecraft. Station only as a sorcery. It's an artifact creature at 20+. Station 10+. So before that, this doesn't do anything. Whenever you attack, Dawnsire deals 100 damage to up to one target creature or planeswalker, and at Station 20+, it is a flying 20/20.
I think that that's kind of cool because it's like, ooh, big number, 100 damage to creature or planeswalker. At that point, though, isn't it just better to have an unconditional, like, kill target creature type deal?
Look, Sky Sovereign hits for 3, and that still feels like it just kills something every time.
That's fair. But 5 mana for an artifact, I feel like this is just a little bit lackluster in the command zone. It feels like you're going to 10+. You have 10 power worth of creatures you're tapping into this at sorcery speed, so it's very telegraphed. And then you have to attack, and then you could deal hello back, Amber. Then you could deal 100 to 1 creature or planeswalker. I feel like at that point it's like, okay, this is just a removal spell when you attack. So you still have to attack after crewing or stationing with all of that stuff. And then it's just a flying 20/20 at station 20. Like, I feel like it's very susceptible to removal at that point. Any kill spells, anything that says destroy target artifact.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like just so much can go wrong with Dawnsire.
So when I think about how I would build Dawnsire, or what stands out to me, the 100 damage. You don't get to deal that much damage to creatures that often, which makes me think of the only way that I could see to build this that would be not just a random colorless deck with Ramp and Eldrazi in it, is Stuffy Doll. Finding Stuffy Doll and dealing 100 damage to it, which will kill one player automatically. And that's cool, but even that only kills one person, and now you have to figure out how the Stuffy Doll gets reset because it's still stuck. At least I'm pretty sure that's how that works. But either way, this is the slowest engine ever. 5 mana Stuffy Doll, 5 mana commander, 10 station crew. Stuffy Doll doesn't even have any power. So if this is a card in the 99 of those Boros, damage direct Boros Reckoner decks, that's cool. As a commander, which is how we're talking about all of these cards, there's nothing there.
The way I would think about building this is copying the trigger, but even then with Stuffy Doll, something like Rings of Bright Hearth and all of this stuff, that is just so much mana to be able to kill. I feel like this is closer to like my Door to Nothingness deck, where it's like a Rube Goldberg machine, where it's like, if you want to play this, it's very cool, but it's a lot of setup, it's very telegraphed, and that people are going to figure out and maybe save removal for a lot of these pieces.
Yeah, you might be thinking, I think Strionic Resonator.
Yeah,
one of those is the triggered ability. So good luck with that, Dawnsire builders. Cool card in the 99, but number 18 is Halia Ascendant Cadet. 2 green, white for a 3/3. When she enters or attacks, you put a counter on a creature you control. Okay. Whenever one or more creatures you control with +1/+1 counters on them deal combat damage to a player, you draw a card. So it's per player, so we can only hit up to 3 opponents at one time. Assuming we're playing a 4-player game, that's kind of the default assumption that we make every time we talk about these cards. So you could draw potentially up to 3 cards right away.
I feel like with 1/1 counters, there's so many things that say like, put 1/1 counters on, on 2 things when it enters, or put 1/1 counters on your entire team or something. or you're just like proliferating here and there, I feel like it's not that bad to be able to put the 1/1 counters on stuff because there's so many things that enter with them. And then being able to draw cards is really nice, but being able to connect is kind of the tough part. I feel like that's a little bit of an extra hoop to jump through at that point, especially if you're having a bunch of things come in with 1/1 counters and you're like, ooh, well, do I want to swing that or not really?
Well, we might be able to adopt something from our good friends Yuriko players and everyone who just plays 1 mana 1/1 flyer. With your commander in the command zone that does gift you a counter every time, you could maybe just play like Healer's Hawk in this deck. So you always are going to connect with at least that. The turn you play Halia, and obviously your deck has a million other ways to put counters on. That could be kind of fun, like evasive dorks, but like color swapped.
Yeah, I feel like when you have a draw card in the command zone, it automatically bumps it up a little bit further than most other things.
Than the other alpha rail.
Yeah, then just something that's like, create a tap 2/2.
What if it was draw 2, discard 1
well,
once?
Okay, well, that's a little bit better, which is why it wasn't dead last.
It's true. So Halia, there actually might be something there. I might see that before I die. But we want to see something else before we die. Straight foils. When I buy a foil and it curls, I'm super annoyed. But I used to be annoyed, and I'm not annoyed anymore because foil armor straightens that right out.
Foil armor is awesome. It takes all the moisture from your cards and goes, it sucks all of it out, and then it makes it all not pringled anymore. It's super cool.
It's really simple too. You can literally just stick the foil armor packets in your deck boxes, close them up, leave them for a day or two, or just leave them in there, throughout your playtime, and it will just fix it. Over time, it will just decurl your cards. It worked even through your sleeves.
Yes.
We put them in plastic bags, we put them in Tupperware containers. Any seal container you can have, that'll fix out your cards.
Try it for yourself. Check out the link in the description below. Number 17 is one that I don't think is very good, and I'm very surprised to see that it's a legendary. I would never helm this as mine, but
yeah, you kind of hate this card.
I do. It's the Eternity Elevator. 5 mana for an artifact space station, you know what I mean. Tap to add colors. You can station it. Station 20 to tap to add X mana of any one color, where X is the number of charge counters on it, which will be presumably 20 plus. First off, this is colorless, so I get that you want a bunch of these little ram pieces, so I get it. You're playing your Thran Dynamos and stuff in your Kozilek decks, you're probably going to play this there. That's fine. As your commander, though?
Yeah, what if Thran Dynamo was your commander?
Then I just simply would play a different commander. I feel like there's so many cool colorless commanders. There's the new guy from Final Fantasy that makes all the Blight lands and whatever. There's like all the Eldrazi Titans and that sort. The new ones, the old ones, whatever. Why would I play Thran Dynamo as my commander?
20 charge counters is a lot. It's kind of a ludicrous amount. But one of the problems with this also is that by the time you get 20 power on board, even over a couple turns to crew into this, do you have anything else left in your hand to play with 25 mana if you get enough charge counters on it? I think this is actually pretty cool. I'm a little higher on it than you, mostly because what if Thran Dynamo could be your commander and you play all of the Manifold Key, Voltaic Key, and you just keep untapping this over and over, and then eventually, maybe 5 turns later, if this doesn't die, you make 20 mana and you win the game with some X spell.
I want to talk about this really quickly. You can't pay for colorless spells with this. It says add X mana of any one color. So you can pay into the X of stuff, but anything that you need like a pip for, like the colorless waste pip, whatever, you can't pay it with this.
Any mana rock in your whole deck and any land in your whole deck will still make colorless.
I
so
know.
That's fine.
I just want to throw that out there really quickly. That it's not. I don't like this because
it's not going to happen to anybody. No one's going to be like, "Oh man, I tapped all my permanents."
But you're like, "Oh, I could play everything in my hand, maybe." But also, maybe you'll be stuck on something like that. I just feel like there's so much. Like, this doesn't offer card draw. This is just a mana rock on its face. And then if you could pour in enough resources, it's a bigger mana rock. That's, like, just not that exciting to me. It doesn't even become a creature. You can't even hit for commander damage with this.
You know what? It doesn't even become a creature. So it's always safe.
It's always a mana rock.
Swords to plowshares. It's always Thran Dynamo. Look, this is the highest I can get it, folks. Number 17. Number 16, Servanden, Sunstar Exemplar. White-black for a 2/2 Vigilance Menace. Whenever another creature you control dies or is put into exile, put a +1/+1 counter on Servandum, and you gain 1 life. Is it Vondum or Vonden? I think it's Vondum, but I've been saying Vonden this whole time.
Or Vonden.
When Servandum dies or is put into exile while its power is 4 or greater, destroy up to 1 target non-land permanent. He wants to die.
Yeah.
And he wants other stuff to die so he can be bigger. I guess where my head goes with this, other than just like the most generic Aristocrats card I've ever seen, is maybe like Unearth, Reanimate, and like my Malachor Rebirth, where you just keep targeting him and bringing him back and then sacking more stuff so you can continuously blow up something. That's kind of cool.
That's just a lot of work at that point, because if you're reanimating, unearthing, and stuff, you also have to be able to make his power 4 or greater, because even if you could get him in an infinite loop, of like just dying, coming back to life, dying, coming back to life, he's still a 2/2 at the end of the day.
Well,
so
also,
you're gonna have to kill some other stuff, make him big, kill the thing, and kill him, and then bring him back.
I'm kind of dumb because it also says exile, so you could flicker this while it's a 4/4, kill something, and then you don't have to go through that many hoops. So as long as you have sack outlets only for creatures, getting all of your creatures dead, tokens, kill them, get them out of here, Bloodghast, Nether Trader, Gravecrawler, all of the favorite, kill fodder. Maybe if you start circle of teleportation circling, and you flicker him, and you cloud shift him, and you ephemerate him, you keep blowing things up.
Yeah, I guess like with the rest of the Orzhov Legends, you can just flicker it and it'll come back, but that's still a ton of work to be putting in because he will always come back as a 2/2.
Yes, you're going to have to sack 2 things every time to get him to 4, or actually, you could forget all of the sacrifice anything and just play a bunch of anthems in your deck and then only flicker him and be the absolute policeman, which is kind of flavorful because I think the Sun Knights are like the police of the galaxy.
Okay, yeah, I guess that if you do have enough anthems in here, which white is run amok with them, you can be able to, destroy everyone's stuff. But that's not a very fun deck for your opponents, at least.
Ooh, what about, there's also the background that gives like your commander +3/+3. It has wards, so they can't do anything. So they try to target it, you make them pay the ward, then you flicker it, and you blow their best thing up.
There's the one with Undying, too.
Oh, we're kind of cooking. We're kind of cooking with Servand, and it looks boring, honestly, but I think when you get into it, it's actually pretty fun, and it might be interesting.
Number 15 is Memenon. I will say that wrong 20 different times in 20 different ways.
Me too.
Earthos Exile, 1 blue-red for a 1/3 flying. Whenever an artifact you control enters, you put a 1/1 counter on target creature. I think it's very funny to be putting Izzet into 1/1 counter type buckets, but I like the fact that it is a bunch of artifacts because there are so many ways to make a ton of artifacts appear all at once. So you can put counters on all of your team, but I think he's also just kind of forgettable.
This is cool.
He's cool.
I think this is a cool, simple design. We haven't seen it before. We had a Lannery Storm that was close, but I think it only put counters on pirates. But now that it's just anything, we can mess around with modular in the Izzet color pie and feel kind of cool about it. There's other ways to go. I like Memenon. Memenon? Ooh, let's say Memenon.
Memenon?
That might work. Memenon Uthor's Exile. I think it is a simple deck, but it is a deck people have loved and maybe shifted over into blue-red instead of red-white.
Yeah, I don't think he's a bad guy. I'm happy to put him in the middle of the list.
No, he's a nice guy. He helped me out.
Yeah, I think he's chill. I think this version of Memenon is fine. I think he's pretty cool, especially because of the fact that if you can loop things like baubles, or if you can just
Mistress Bauble,
or if you can make a ton of tokens, you can make things pretty big. And I don't know if this will ever come up, but it does say 1/1 counter on target creature. Doesn't have to be yours. I don't know if that will ever matter.
Hey-o.
But if you can ever stop something on the other side with 1/1 counters, or maybe you can make some deals, who knows?
Hey, if your opponents remember that they can block, and they do that, you can maybe flash in some artifacts and mess it up for whoever you don't like the more at that moment. Number 14 is another space shift. Spacecraft. For number 14, In Spirit Flagship Vessel. Blue, red, white for a spacecraft. It has station 1+. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put your choice of a +1/+1 counter or 2 charge counters on up to 1 other target artifact. And at station 8+, it is a 5/5 flyer that says other artifacts you control have hexproof and indestructible. That last mode, if you get up there, 8+ is not as hard as 20+. It's really annoying. It does mean this thing is going to be the number 1 target for every piece of removal ever. So if you can protect it, your board's kind of untouchable.
I also like the fact that when it comes in, station 1+ is just so easy. You're going to have something and you can make this beginning of combat your turn, put counters or charge counters on stuff. So you have that engine going as soon as this comes down for the most part, unless you spend all of your mana on the other turns getting something to put charge counters on. But I feel like this engine goes pretty fast. And I probably, I don't know, maybe I'd put it at 8+. I feel like if I had a good enough board, I'd put it at 8+. But it's not that hard to just keep it at 1+ and then build up when the time is right. Kind of do the arithmetic things where you build it up all the way until you're ready to put the last thing on, and then it's going to give everything hexproof, indestructible, and then you're going to have to protect this thing forever.
Or most likely, I think maybe there's another spacecraft just like this one that comes up later. I think what might happen is you just station up to 8 when you have a board wipe, blow everything up, and then just replay In Spirit, and then use your creatures to crew it back up to 6, so that you can maybe get that play pattern again in the future. That seems like the thing that would frustrate me the most as an opponent.
Yeah.
Just keep nuking my stuff and getting one-sided board wipes.
Yeah, that would be pretty stinky. I definitely see some options with this. I just feel like with all of the board wipes that we're seeing lately, all the sacrifices and all the -X, which we're seeing in this set alone, and all of the exiles and stuff, it's going to be a little bit tougher to avoid some of those, but I think that if you're only running Destroy on your side, there's a high probability that you're going to be able to do some funky stuff with this.
Yeah, don't expect it to, like, when I say your stuff is kind of unkillable, I really do mean kind of, like 60% unkillable. Almost all of the best board wipes in the format still get around hexproof and indestructible. That is partially why they are the best board wipes in the format. So keep your eyes peeled is what I should say on that. It's not something I think you should do proactively unless you have a board wipe.
Yeah, I don't
or unless people just can't answer it. If you know their deck and you know that you're playing more of a battle cruisery slow thing without even board wipes, now your creatures are just going to be annoying.
I mean, there's also just the point where if you're playing a lot of artifact creatures, you are just saying that, hey, I can swing in without fear of them dying too.
True.
I don't care about your death touch. I don't care about you killing my thing in the middle of combat. Maybe that's what you care about, and that's super cool too.
Totally is. Number 13, we're getting into the top half now. I guess we've been in the top half. Zrael. Genesis Shepherd, 2 red, green, black for a 2/5 flyer. You can play lands from your graveyard, and whenever you sacrifice another non-token permanent during your turn, put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to Zrael's power on up to one other target creature. I just think this commander is weird. It's tough to wrap my head around what exactly they want me to do with this, because if I'm playing a lands sacrificey deck like the Precon was, I just don't even care about the second part of this at all. I don't even know why it's there. I don't want to get him bigger. I just want to play lands for my graveyard. So I'd rather just play like a Rat-Me-Dap Excavator. And then if I'm playing Sacrifice, I guess I'll take the first line as a bonus, but it's a little weird. It does work well with fetch lands, but again, we're only putting 2 counters on something else because he's a 2/5.
Yeah, I feel like with this, it's just a disjointed strategy. The first part just seems kind of like, oh, that's cool and all.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, but the second part, you're playing Jund Sack, like, that's fine and all too, but yeah, I feel like with the 2 power that you're throwing around, I'm not sure if that's terribly impactful. You'll need ways to build him up if you want the most value, and then do you really care about the lands from graveyard? I mean, if you have a lot of fetches, as you said, you can keep looping those fetches, getting the counters and all of that, make your team pretty big. That's super cool.
Yeah, it's very disjointed, but each half of it is pretty decent, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
because now
halfway then.
If you're just going to play like a Powers Matter thing, you put some auras on him or you put some counters on him, and now when you start sacrificing stuff, I mean, if you have like a Viscera Seer or something, you now have like when you attack with an Alpha Strike, you have like a fireball on a stick. If they block any of your stuff, you sack all the stuff they blocked and put all the counters from Zrael onto something that they didn't block, and then they might die anyway.
Yeah, I feel like that's why it's half on our list, where it's like, yeah, each half is pretty okay, and that's why it deserves to be about halfway.
It's just a weird card.
Number 12 is a card that I'm excited for, but I feel like it might go better in the 99. It's Halia, Guided by Light. 2 and a white for a 3/3. Whenever she or another creature or artifact you control enters, you gain 1 life. Beginning of your end step, you draw a card if you've gained 3 or more life this turn, and she also has Warp for just a single white. And I do like her effect quite a lot. Drawing cards is super nice. She spots you the 1 life already, so you only have to draw 2 or gain 2 more life. So maybe you crack it with like an extort or like a food token or something. But I think that this effect is not the most commander worthy type effect.
It's honest. It ain't much, but it's honest work is what this card is. And I'm happy that it's a nice little workhorse for the life gain decks. It is a Soul Sister effect for you, and it draws you cards, which I just feel like white, black, those type of life gain decks, white in this case, just don't draw that much cards. Like,
We're just hurting for it.
I don't know what it is. It just feels like they can't.
It's just tough. When you do life gain, there's so few cards that really care about drawing cards in life gain. Like at that point, it's like, ooh, do you need tiny creatures? Because there's a whole plethora of card draw for that. Are you going to play some of the best stuff ever, like Trouble in Pairs? Well, that seems a little bit like just shoving the best things.
It's not exactly a life gain.
And then it's like we have the Gaffer. He's cool, but like that's just 1 card.
But some of the payoffs all the payoffs I feel like are recent anyway.
Yeah, they are.
I don't know what you guys were doing 5 years ago with the life gain deck.
Having trouble.
Having trouble for sure. Halia, good role player. I think this is a solid choice for commanders. Okay, number 11, Alpha Rael, Stone Chosen. This is the big boy version. 3 black, black for a 3/3 with the most hilarious ward text I've ever seen in my life. Discard a card at random. You don't even know what this ward cost is, if it's terrible or if it's easy to pay. And as Void, whenever it attacks, if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell was warped this turn, defending player loses half of their life, round it up. This is not a flashy card. I guess it's flashy in the sense that it says half. But I read this and I just go, But it actually is good. Despite my complaining about just not personally being interested, you're going to pair this with Wound Reflection, Bloodletter of Aclazotz, and all that stuff to kind of make it a combo kill where they're going to have to suck it up and discard a card at random if they want to stop themselves from literally dying. Because if you double the half their life, they're dead.
Yeah, I think this is fun. There are so many things, whether you're doing some sort of like spiky, like, what's it called? Veto, Exquisite Blood type combos when you're getting stuff, or you just can sack a bunch of little guys and just keep getting that trigger. Maybe you have some Greaves out, you sack one of the little Scions or something for mana to bring him out, and you go, okay, well now they can attack immediately. Guess someone's going to lose half their life. I think that even though he's not flashy in your eyes and he's a little bit expensive because he's 5 mana, I think that effect is super cool and people are going to die more often than they think.
Yeah, you obviously have to build around it. Something I've always thought about with losing half of something is this card will never kill someone and it will always get worse the more you attack with it. So you have to cheese it. There is a demon, and I know you probably know this better than me because you play Kalia. What's the demon that says like each opponent loses life equal to the life lost by somebody else?
Oh,
it's like 8 mana or
that's
something.
That's the Sower of Discord, right?
That one, but I'm also thinking there's like a Battle Bond one. It's like a.
Oh, I mean, I was thinking
8 mana
of
6/6.
I was thinking about like the Archfiend of Cruelty or
That's
something.
the guy.
Yeah.
That's the guy. Does he do it? Does he win?
Yeah, he would, because he said each opponent loses life equal to the amount of life they've lost this turn.
So that's another way. So there's a lot of ways with Alpha Rail to kill one person. Although you are still killing one person at a time, so be patient, I guess.
Yeah, and then also all eyes are on you when you just take someone out with one attack and one end step.
Yeah, I don't know how you perform that maneuver and go like, all right, guys, looks like we're back to even.
Yeah, guys, I'm not the threat.
I'm not the threat. Whoa, what are we doing now? We are into our top 10 for Edge of Eternities, and number 10 is Infinite Guideline Station, another weird card. It is Wooburg for a spacecraft, which I finally said correctly, and when it enters, you get a tapped 2/2 colorless robot for each multicolored permanent you control, and it does count itself, so you always get one, but I would imagine you're waiting quite a while to play this. Station 12+. It's a 7/15 that says whenever it attacks, you draw a card for each multicolored permanent you control, and it does count itself.
I feel like this, to me, at least, is a little bit lackluster. It seems just like... It seems fine because you're going to be able to get a bunch of tap 2/2s because your entire deck is built around multicolor permanents. Not bad, and then you're going to be able to draw cards. Maybe I was a little too harsh on this, but I don't know. I feel like with some of the Wooburg commanders that we see out running in the wild, I feel like this is one of the more lackluster ones.
It's fair.
Yeah. I feel like Wooburg commanders often are not fair.
I don't need another Najila. I don't need another Kenrith.
Joda.
Yeah, I don't need a Joda. This is fine. This is cool. It's in that Niv Mizzet Reborn territory, except you kind of want multicolored tokens to make it easier. I don't know off the top of my head
There's
what makes...
like green and white citizens, right?
Oh, okay. So that's a really good one. Black and green pests and black and green insects, maybe from like a grist or something. Okay. There's a decent amount of ways now. And I will say, in your defense, you were harsh in scripting, but I think I talked you up to number 10. I don't think this card's busted, but, you know, I talked you up a little.
I'm not sure if it's top 10 still, but I think it's higher than when I first read it. Because when I first read it, I was like, you can't even station it immediately because everything comes in tapped. So you're just making a bunch of tap 2/2s. You can't even block with them if you needed them in a pinch.
Yeah, that's true.
And then it's like station 12+, which is 12 power worth of creatures that you need to pour into this thing. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, it's a 7/15, great blocker, okay attacker.
Look, I'll say
3-hit kill for commander damage, and then it will only do something when it attacks too, and you have to make sure this thing attacks.
Look, I'll say it right now, this is the only station that I don't care about crewing it. It's so easy. It literally gives you everything to station it. You only need 6 things. This gives you 1.
You only need 6 things.
This is not a commander you play on turn 5 and go, wow, I made 2 2/2s. You play it on like turn 7 and you get like 7 2/2s, and then you can easily station this.
We're doing this for power, right? We're doing this ranking for power.
I think that's okay.
Yeah,
I don't think that's that crazy.
Okay, I think that it's fine. I don't think it's the worst because of the fact that you're making so many just like artifact creature tokens, which is pretty nice if you can just mass make artifacts.
Even if this dies, you still get to keep those, and your opponents have to know that now you're going to have even more multicolored permanents in play the next time this comes around, and they have to deal with that many robots again.
I think this is just fine. It's definitely fair, as Weezy said. I don't think it's spectacular.
I think it's cool. I think it's cool, and I'm now trying to think of all the multicolored tokens, because that makes this much easier to get.
Yeah, I think that if you can just explode tokens like Pest Infestation or something, it's going to make it a lot easier.
Could be. What's number 9?
Number 9 is Menmenon. The right hand 3 blue for a 3/4 flying. You can look at the top card of your library at any time. You can cast artifact spells from the top. Artifacts you control have tap to add blue, but only to cast spells from anywhere other than your hand.
Huh.
Kind of weird, like a weird take on Urza.
Meets Future Sight.
Meets the jellyfish, the reality chip.
Oh, that's a more flavorful one.
Yeah, I remember when you were real harsh on that one, because this guy is also a jellyfish.
Yeah, this is also a jellyfish. I worry a little bit that this is so expensive, but similar to the Infinite Guideline, you play this later when you have a bunch of artifacts out, and hopefully you have stuff like a Sensei's Top. I'm sure this is one of those Sensei's Top combo decks. Like I said, there's a lot of combos that are directly associated with these commanders in this set. It's kind of crazy. I feel like the Sensei's Top cost reducer combo is going to be there for sure in this deck, and you're going to use top to look at the top cards of your library, even in a fair sense. Other ways to, like Mystic Forge, get rid of the top. I don't know, Scry. Clearly this isn't my wheelhouse, but there are ways to reset the top card of your library all the time and to keep casting artifacts with the mana from the artifacts that you just cast.
Yeah, I think that being able to cast some funky stuff from anywhere other than your hand, maybe you're doing it from the warp zone, maybe not just from the top of your library.
From your graveyard.
Yeah, I think that there are options even if you don't want to go super hard on like the top of library theme. Maybe you take this in a different way.
Yeah, as long as you have artifacts. If you don't have artifacts, this card doesn't do anything. So definitely, but that's such a wide range of decks.
Yeah, I think that this one is pretty versatile, though a little bit expensive. Number 8 is my favorite uncommon from the set, or one of my favorite uncommons at least. Tanuki, Memorial Ensign, 1 green/red for a 2/4. When a land you control enters, deals 1 damage to each opponent. If it's the second time this ability is resolved this turn, you draw a card. I like the little pingers, the very fair pingers, and I feel like you could spit out lands so easily in red-green. I feel like this is going to be a powerhouse.
Not strong enough to kill immediately, but annoying if left alive for a long time. It's got that Kambal text, you know?
I mean, you're also just playing this with probably a lot of the things that can make you play extra lands and stuff. So, kind of like Roxanne, it ramps into its next,
It's going to fuel itself. It says, landfall. Cool, you want to do that again? Here's more stuff.
Yeah, so you're going to be putting out extra lands, or you're going to be playing all the fetches, or all of the above. You're going to be able to fill your hand up, too. And if you have fetches, and you can do it on other people's turns and stuff, maybe you crack 2 fetches on someone else's turn, then you can draw a card again. It's only the second time this ability resolves each turn, but it does say each turn. Maybe you have ways to, trigger that.
Yeah, I don't know about fetch lands as much, but definitely Harrow, the
Entrance
Restoration, and what's the other one? Roiling Regrowth. Those are really easy, like 1-card ways to get that. And then obviously you can store fetch lands too for other stuff. But Tanuki, it's kind of really good for an uncommon. It doesn't cost that much mana. It's not like a card I'm going to have to kill, but it does the little impact tremors ping you over and over thing. And if you do things like Splendid Reclamation, just go, here's everything back that I was looting and playing and fetching and discarding. Now here, take 20.
I mean, even with this set, when we see things like Planetary Annihilation, there are still not a lot of ways to punish landfall decks. So even if you are ramping, and you have like 20 lands at a certain point, Tunu comes out, he dies, you go, oh man, anyways, I'll just play him again and ramp even more, you know?
You guys take 1, I'll fetch, Terramorphic Expanse, you guys take another one, I'll draw a card, cool.
You're going to be able to fill up your hand, you're going to be able to keep playing those lands and getting those triggers, and I feel like with, with things like Impact Tremors, it's so easy to wipe the board of the creature tokens, and that can build up really fast. I feel like this is slow and steady, but it's going to be so much harder to stop when they have all of those lands out.
Yeah, as your commander, Tanuki's pretty cool. Made it all this way up just being an uncommon. Number 7 is the Surima. 1 white for a spacecraft. When it enters, search your library for a legendary creature card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Station 7+, it's a 5/5 that says other tapped legendary creatures you control have indestructible. This, to me, at first I was like, ooh, we could play a secret commander, but it only finds legends. So why wouldn't you just play, if you wanted to play a secret commander, you could just play that commander in the command zone, which is funny. But regardless of jokes, this actually is a decent toolbox card. It will find anything you need in your whole deck for a lot of different purposes. Ooh, you need a board wipe? Elish Norn. You need a way to stop their ATBs? Elish Norn. They're attacking you with a bunch of 1/1s? The other Elish Norn. Lauren, the third path. Did I mention Elish Norn?
Elish Norn, there's a few Elish Norns that you can find with this. And I feel like there are just so many things that are legendary creatures nowadays with just cool effects stapled on that even if you're constrained by that, no, you're really not. This is just going to be a tutor. And if you have anything like with Convoke or you're just attacking with big old legendary creatures, you're going to be able to give those indestructible at the 7+.
Like the Jeskai one, you get your hits in, then you play a board wipe, And unlike the Jeskai one, you actually are really interested in replaying the Surima. So it's kind of nice that this doesn't give itself indestructible. You blow everything up, you get a one-sided board wipe, just replay it and go find another best legend to then, apply more pressure with. The Surima seems pretty solid. It's a little clunky because you have to pay essentially you have Grim Tutor as your commander. So you got to eat 3 mana before you play anything super useful. But the selectiveness, the toolbox, the utility of it is pretty nice.
And maybe you blink an artifact or something.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you just tutor a bunch of legendary creatures to your hand and you have a very good turn.
Get a legendary creature that blinks maybe on your first tutor. Go get Teleportation Circle because that can flicker artifacts. If you start doing that, this is a really sick mono white commander. And there's definitely ways to offset that initial 3 mana tutor cost,
Welcome to the surprise Moxfield ad. Moxfield is the best place online to build a deck. If you want to build a deck in a very easy, fast, and secure way, you should check out Moxfield.com. They have light mode and dark mode. You can choose any specific card art that you want, and it's the perfect place to be following us. If you want to check out any deck that we've ever played on Deckmasters or any deck that we've ever built, you should go to Moxfield.com and follow us. Moxfield, the best place online to be building decks.
All right, number 6, a card you like a lot. You talked me up on it for sure. Deodrine, Synthesis Amalgam, X, white, green for a 0/1 trample. It enters with a number of X +1/+1 counters on it, equal to the amount of mana spent to cast it. Very nice with command text. It plays very well together. Whenever you attack, you may remove a +1/+1 counter from each of 2 creatures you control. If you do, draw a card and create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token.
I think that with this, I love a good, nice, scalable commander. It's great even if it dies a couple times. It has trample on it, so the more mana you pay into it, the later the game goes, the more of a commander damage threat that this becomes.
True.
He'll always come in with a counter, which is really, really nice. And then if you just have something that has another counter on it, which is very easy to do, you just pluck them off, you have some card advantage, and you can just have a little army and a can on it too, because you're just able to do that every single turn. I think that's pretty nice and a very solid ability.
You're kind of selling me on this. We touched on this earlier, but this is fantastic with commander tax, because even if I have to pay 2 extra, that 2 extra still is checked for mana spent to cast. And I think what you kind of want to do with this is ignore the X for the first part of the game and just play this on turn 2. It will enter with 2 counters because you spent 2 mana on it, even though X was 0. So it'll be a 2/3. And then if you have other stuff going on, you can remove counters and start drawing cards and getting robots. And I kind of like it now.
I like it too. I think that in the early game, it's card draw and it's making little tokens, and that's really, really cool. And then late game, it's just a big threat.
With trample.
It's a big beater. It could be a 2-hit kill or 3-hit kill, depending on how much mana you pour into it.
You got all the hardened scales, maybe modular, maybe not.
Yeah,
but
depending on how late the game goes, you could pour extra into the X2. I love the fact that it gives you options.
It does. I honestly, this card, how do I say it? It just looks bad. But it's not bad. It's a good card. I just maybe think the artwork and the mana cost are throwing me off. Because when I see X, green, white, I go, okay, you want me to count, X is supposed to be 5 here? And this is no, the X is for you, buddy.
Yeah.
This is the first X cost that works for me.
It's whatever you want it to be today.
And it's still a good card, kind of whenever you play it. Deodrine, I wrote you off, and I'm sorry. But now you're number 6.
Number 5 is Ragos, Deft Gastronaut, a card that I've been thinking about building.
Ooh.
Red-white for a 2/2. Artifacts you control are foods, and they have the typical food text. 1, tap him, sack of food. He deals 3 damage to each opponent. Speaking of each end step, if you've gained life this turn, you can untap him. I like the fact that everything is a food, so you can tap sack it for life, and then if you have an extra mana lying around and another food, which will be any artifact that you have, he'll deal 3, and then you could just repeat that cycle over and over again. I think that's awesome.
Now we're starting to get into these combos too. We've mentioned them. They've been combos throughout the video, but this is one of the ones that stood out to me. Remember Nuka-Cola Vending Machine? It's back, and it still has a bunch of combos, and I'm sorry that I said it was bad at first, but Nuka-Cola Vending Machine, with this, when it says whenever you sacrifice a food, you get a tapped treasure. And Ragos says that's a food. So if you have a Croc Clan Ironworks or a Reckless Fireweaver, you can sacrifice them infinitely to get infinite foods entering and infinite foods leaving. They will enter tapped. They will be tapped foods, because that's what the Nuka-Cola Vending Machine says they enter as treasures, and it's just replaced, so they'll be tapped foods. There's still a trillion ways to take advantage of that. This is almost unfortunately going to be a very sweaty combo card with Ragos enabling all your stuff, even though there's definitely a fun half of it. Not to say that combos aren't fun, but there's a goofy, I'm going to crack my Mirror Sire. It's a food, and now I'm going to deal 3 to you, versus, I will create infinite foods and you're dead.
I also think that's pretty nice, because if you can use any of your artifacts to tap automatically, and then you could just sack them as foods. Maybe you can find a way to tap your treasures instead of tapping and sacking them for mana. If you could tap them just for mana or to, or maybe if you have artifact creatures you convoke out something, then you could still sack them as foods to a secondary ability. It's not like they need to be untapped foods to sack. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're all sackable in whatever state they're in. They just can't.
I think that's very nice to have that flexibility.
Yeah, you just can't sack a food you're already trying to sacrifice. That's the only thing. Rhaegos is pretty sweet. I mean, all of your artifacts. Just make a bunch of tokens, make a bunch. I don't even think this guy wants you to make any foods because he just gives you them. It almost looks like a food payoff, but you should probably have 0 cards in your deck that say make a food token because they're not any better than anything else that makes an artifact token of any kind.
Yeah, it also says if you've gained life this turn, you don't have to gain it via food. I'm kind of trying to play Illustrious Wanderglyph and make an army and then give stuff like lifelink or something.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to do with it. And then if I have to block or attack, you've gained the life, you can tap and sack the little tokens that come in, and then you untap them again and do it all over.
Yeah, you throw Rhaegos, or you throw Witch's Cottage, and you give Rhaegos lifelink, and then you hit each opponent, you gain 9.
Yeah, and then you untap him.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
I think we're cooking here.
I think we just broke it, guys. Rhaegos is sweet. I hope you build it because this deck looks really cool. Number 4, Hearthhull, the World Seed. 1 black, red, green for a station, a spacecraft with station. Station 2+, 1 tap, sacrifice a land, draw 2 cards. You may play an additional land this turn. Station 8+, flying, vigilance, haste, 6/7. Whenever you sacrifice a land, each opponent loses 2 life. Oh!
I think that this is a spicy card. I don't think Jund sacrificing land strategies needed more spice, but I think we got a lot of spice with him at the station. This is where I think stations should be because you're just putting in so much work to make them usable at this point, because if you don't have anything to station, you paid 4 mana and it enters the battlefield. Didn't do anything for you.
But this one only needs a 2-power creature.
Which is
you're off to the races. That's the best mode is the second one.
Yeah, it's so easy to be able to get that. And this is where I think station should be, and not if you can put in 12 power to a creature and it doesn't do anything before that. You know what I mean?
No text. Station 20+, it's a 2020 or whatever. Okay, sure, Magic. But yeah, Station 2+ is the best mode. You just start sacrificing lands. And the fact that you play an extra one, it just gives you stupid amounts of landfall. It fuels you in a way that Lord Windgrace does, except Lord Windgrace can be attacked and he's really awkward to play. This is still have that little protection where he's not a creature, so it's a little harder to target him with stuff, but he doesn't have the I'm just going to attack your value engine. Super sweet. And it has a win con built in when you eventually get up to having a Zurin Orb or a Sylvan Safekeeper or some free sack outlet for lands. You squander resources, maybe you level up to 8, which again is not even that high. And you just kill all your opponents.
And is there any combos with this? If you can do some Ashaya combo?
I don't think there's combos with this card particularly, but if you just play Splendid Wreck and stuff, and you sack all your lands twice, they're dead.
Well, I was just thinking about the fact, not just Splendid Wreck, but I was thinking about the fact that it's you sack a land, maybe it's a creature, and you can like some Gravecrawler combos, because this is Jund. You can sack a land,
if you have Ashaya to make your creatures into lands,
that
makes you deal more damage for sure. So they made this some combos could be ported over to also work.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It might be an option, because not only will you have it on its bottom half where it's you can sack all your lands to, reshape the earth or whatever, and you bring in a bunch of new ones and you're going to be getting so much damage. But if your creatures are all stuff too, maybe you just have a Viscera Seer type, and for a board wipe, if they're all, forest, you just sack all of them before the damage, you deal a bunch, and then you have everyone lose life.
Yeah, throw a Scape Shift at them, and then you get Valakut or something. Yeah. Let's see how they like that. Hearthhull looks sweet. I don't know if I have a Jund deck right now. I don't. That could be a fun one to build, honestly.
I think that he could be awesome.
It could be pretty sweet. Maybe I take apart a deck to build that, because I do have a lot of black-green decks together. You might not know about that about me. Number 3, it's the mono-red Tanuk. This is Steadfast Second. He's 2 red for a 4/4. Simple card, but it has a lot of potential. Other creatures you control have haste, and artifact cards and red creature cards in your hand have warp. 2 in a red. This is a sneak attack, except you could just they basically go back in your hand afterwards. You just replay them from the warp zone. They're safer in the warp zone, honestly. And there's a ton of cards you can just warp. You can warp out a portal to Phyrexia, get the trigger, nuke their boards, and then still have it nestled safely away. And there's so many cards like that. Atali, Blightsteel. Ugh.
I think that's really fun because everything gets haste too. I feel like that's kind of necessary if you don't want to go the artifact route.
That's what turns this into super strong.
Yeah, I think that if you didn't have that, it'd be kind of whatever. It's just ooh, ETB triggers, that's awesome. But being able to get the ETB and attack too, that's pretty spicy.
You could warp out a Darksteel Monolith so that you can cast an Eldrazi for free, and then it goes away, and you could maybe spend 8 mana on it later. There's a lot of stuff with Tanuk The one bottleneck of this deck is you're going to need mana. You need, I think, at least 7 mana the turn you play him.
Oh, absolutely.
I can't even tell you how hard I'm going to try to kill Tanuk if you tap out for him and you haven't warped anything yet. I'm sorry, I don't want to get to the point where I lose the game because you warped a 6 mana or a 12 mana card for 3 and I get annihilated or something. I don't want to live through that. So I'm going to kill Tanuk. So you have to like play him, and if he resolves, great. You now have priority to warp something for 2 and a red. They can still try to kill Tanuk and stop the haste from it. But if it's got ETBs or stuff for Value City USA text on it, then you still get that at least.
Watch out, keep your counterspells for this guy. He's going to be a lot more annoying than you think.
Mana Geyser is probably the most annoying card in this Tanuk deck because they're going to, out of nowhere, Mana Geyser, make 23 mana. Tanuk, warp, you're dead.
Yeah, and then all my stuff goes protected into the warp zone.
Into the warp zone to be used at a later date. Tanuk, I see you, buddy. I see you. Number 2 is a card you love, and the more I read it, the better it is. What do you think?
I think he's awesome. He's Kilo, Apogee Mind, white, blue, red for a 3/3 with haste. When he becomes tapped, proliferate. Very simple line of text. And I know we got a little bit of hate where it was like, ooh, you guys are underestimating him. No, I said he was part of a different deck.
He's just not good in the precon.
I don't think he's good in the precon. I think he's great on his own. I think there's so many combos that are enabled with him. He comes in so cheap. He can tap himself immediately just by attacking, but if you just slap something on there to tap, untap, Fruit from the reel, all of these little things that can untap immediately, you have just something very spicy going. I saw some like Crystalline Crawler type things.
Yeah, Crystalline Crawler is a big one.
You're going to be able to make so much mana, or even poison if you can do some sort of like spicy stuff with that.
Honestly, yeah, if you play a Prologue to Phyresis, just as a random, like, even if that's the only card in your entire deck that says poison on it, I think you might still play it because
I'm still playing it.
That gives you a non-combat win con to just sit there, dirtle, and now with even janky cards that have spiked recently, Aura of Domination. Have you seen this card in your entire life? No, but it's really, really good with Kilo. He has a lot of cards like that. Free from the Real, obviously, you pay 1 mana, proliferate. If you go Crystalline Crawler, Infinite Combo, we mentioned there's a lot of those running around. Kilo is really strong despite having, 6 words on it?
You don't need a lot of words to have powerful. I mean, Carador's only got a few words.
Yeah, Carador's only, what a great card.
No, Kilo's awesome. I think that he is going to be a must-kill threat if you even get priority at a certain point. Maybe they just silence you,
Oh, God. If you're playing Silence, I'm coming after you.
I think this guy is going to be the helm of very sweaty decks.
He's a menace.
He's going to be very, very sweaty.
There's a ton of ways to create scenarios where you essentially can pay 1 mana to untap him. But all of the stuff you're proliferating is free value every time you do that. Whether that be counters or charge counters. Darksteel Reactor, I'm terrified of Darksteel Reactor in this deck. I'm going to lose to that thing. It's indestructible, and it only needs 20 at any point. Kilo can start doing things at instant speed. I'm going to lose to that.
I'm also thinking about the fact that it's like reconnaissance and stuff. You go attack. No, never mind. And you keep doing stuff like that.
Sure, yeah. I mean, why not? Convoke, untap me things. There are cards, like White Plume Adventurer that'll like untap something every turn.
Yeah.
Kilo's really scary. You should respect it, even though there's only 6 words of rules text on it. Proof that simple designs can still be interesting and powerful. Watsy, I got to give you a 100% out of 100 for this card design.
This was an awesome set.
It's perfect. Kilo is like the perfect simple design.
But our number 1 right now, this one is such a scary card. I'm super excited. Sammy, Wildcat Captain. Both Sammys capped our list at front and back. 4 white, red. A little expensive, but don't worry, it'll pay off later. For a 4/4, double strike vigilance, spells you cast have affinity for artifacts. That's a terrifying line.
All of your spells. This reminds me of a close friend of ours, Michael Synth Golem.
Michael Synth?
And that just gives artifacts affinity for artifacts. This just gives everything. That big score, it costs red, and it gives you 2 treasures now for filtering. There's the card from the set. The End Stone is obscene. So the thing about Sammy that I'll get into first is you don't play Sammy on turn 6 with 3 artifacts. You play Sammy on turn 7, 8, or 9 with 10 artifacts, including lands and stuff. And now all your spells are just free, or like in the case of Big Score, can profit you mana, or you pay 0 for a mana rock that now taps for a mana. That's huge. That's ridiculous. And the End Stone. Whenever you play a land or cast a spell, you draw a card, and it's 7 mana, which is a lot. That's too expensive. I can't play that. Sammy, Endstone, I might skip to that.
Yeah, I think that you're going to need to find ways to comb through your deck. Make sure you keep your hand filled, because you can be able to cast spells very, very fast. But if you don't have the cards to cast, then what does it matter? But if you can keep your hand filled, this is going to be very scary. Plus, if you can even go like an equipment route with her. You could play a lot of cheap equipments like artifacts and stuff. She has double strike and vigilance.
Oh, that's true. That's true. It's awkward to have to pay for the equips, but if you're playing 0 for Arcane Signet, you got some mana coming through. after you pay 0 for it and you profit, and then maybe use that to equip.
I think there's a much sweatier build of Sammy where it's like, okay, I played my entire deck, you lose. And then there's like a nicer one where it's like, I'm equipping her for a bunch and all of my artifacts are, very cheap or free.
That's the nice version, is paying, 0 mana equipments and then hitting you for 100.
Sort of X and Y, everything's free.
Yeah, that seems also very, very good. Sammy is a monster of a card, and I think the only thing holding this card back, even the tiniest bit, is that Boros card draw is really weird. I would have to see a full list of this, but it's possible that the card draw is there already, because you have the End Stone, you have the One Ring, things that cost 0 and draw you cards. Things like Big Score that cycle themselves and let you see more cards for negative mana. There's a lot of that, so this deck might just be disgusting. It might be that if Sammy comes down, you're already dead.
Sammy seems really, really cool. I'm excited to see a deck of this.
Super happy to see the Sammys capping off the best and the worst of Edge of Eternities. Sweet set, a lot of combos, a lot of stuff to be scared of. Keep on your toes when you're playing against these cards. Thanks to WotC for making us ambassadors. And if you want to learn more about the set, there's links in the description that'll take you to the card image gallery.
But if you're wondering about our top 10 cards of the set, you can find the video right about here.